is attached to that event on 7/7. Because two of the people who were involved were students from Leedsmate. They had gone through Leedsmate. Now, you can sort of beat yourself up and say, okay, you can't be responsible for folks that are going through your university, but, and we were already thinking about issues like this. Good man. Cheers, thank you. Now, it becomes very clear when that happens, you have to take very seriously what the point of the university is. What's the purpose of the university? And so, you know, we've been reflecting on pedagogy, on spirituality and meaning in the university. And along came Gulen, and it was clear they were reflecting on very similar things. Real parallel there. So as educators, but also I as a Christian could see the immense common ground. And I remember talking with Ozcan in Turkey in June, and we said, well, we've done well so far. And it stands by itself, this event, this few days. Whatever happens next, if it's been worthy in itself, then that's it. You know, we don't have to achieve this, that, and the other. You know, the quality of the relationship is the key thing. And that for me is the core thing. And any relationship is you never know where it will go. As Ozcan said, you know, it's always going to be learning by serendipity. And as I mentioned in the House of Lords, that term serendipity came originally from a Walpole letter in 1754, where he said, "I just discovered this wonderful new word." He invented it, and it was a word based upon, he said, stories about 3 Persian princes from the land of Serendip, who went on many journeys and learned things as they went along by sheer luck and sagacity. It wasn't just luck, it wasn't just they happened to learn things and weren't expecting them. It was also sagacity, wisdom, able to see where the connections were and actually begin to use those connections and understand the connections which were all there. And today and yesterday have been days of real connecting. That's a bit, you know, oh, wow. Again, back to Jerome, those wow experiences, those wow moments. Real connections. Even the point at which we heard about the dark side, you know, having to accept the dark side, that life isn't always going to be happy or whatever. It puts me in mind of a trainee rabbi. He just became a full rabbi, yeah, and he did his first funeral, and the tradition was that you would begin the eulogy towards the deceased first of all by saying something about the person's dark side. You know, they weren't very good, and then you would say, however, and a bit long list of their good qualities would emerge. So he went to the widow and he said, "Tell me all about your husband. What were his good qualities?" And she couldn't think of anything. So he was getting rather disturbed here, you know. So he went to the rest of the family. What were the good qualities? None whatsoever. So he went to the senior rabbi, and the senior rabbi said, "It's true, this man did come from the dark side, but it will come to you. It will come to you. You will find something good to say about this man before you have to do your eulogy." So he trusted just about his senior rabbi. But the day arrived, and still nothing good about this deceased. And then they finally got to the funeral, and there they were, around the coffin, and the family were gathered around the coffin, and he still couldn't think. And he said, "Well, he wasn't a very good man, I have to say." Yes. And then he looked at the family, and it came to him. However, compared to his brother, he was a saint. Because I have ways of dealing with the dark side. But the other great thing, and I'll say 2 more things, and then I'll push off. The other great thing that for me came through in our conference was this whole notion of communication is more than words, and you can have silent dialogue. And I was thinking of again, back to Jerome's sort of thought experiments. Jerome, wherever he is, where is he seems to have thought experiments every 2 seconds. It put me in mind of that great historical occasion several centuries ago when the Pope decreed that all the Jews had to convert to Catholicism or leave Italy. There was a huge outcry from the Jewish community, so the Pope offered a deal. He would have a religious debate with the leader of the Jewish community. If the Jews won, they could stay in Italy. If the Pope won, they would have to leave or convert. The Jewish people met and picked an aged but wise Rabbi Moshe to represent them in the debate. However, as neither spoke either person's language, they agreed it would be a silent dialogue and debate. On the chosen day, the Pope and Rabbi Moshe sat opposite each other. The Pope raised his hand and showed 3 fingers. Rabbi Moshe looked back and raised 1 finger. Next, the Pope waved his finger around his head, and the rabbi pointed to the ground where he sat. The Pope then brought out a communion wafer and a chalice of wine. Rabbi Moshe pulled out an apple. With that, the Pope stood up and declared that he was beaten, that Rabbi Moshe was far too clever and the Jews could stay in Italy. Later, the cardinals met and asked the Pope what had happened. The Pope said, "First, I held up 3 fingers to represent the Trinity." And he responded by holding up 1 finger to remind me that there is still only one God common to both our beliefs. Then I waved my finger around my head to show him that God was all around us. And he responded by pointing to the ground to show that God was also right here with us. I pulled out the wine and the wafer to show that God absolves us of all our sins. He pulled out an apple to remind me of the original sin. He had beaten me at every move, and I could not continue. So, the community of Rabbi Moshe were keen to understand from him what had happened, and asked him, "How did you win the debate?" "I haven't a clue," he replied. "First," he said to me, "you've got 3 days to leave Italy." So I gave him the finger. Then he tells me that the whole country will be cleared of Jews. And I said, "We're staying right here." "And then what?" asked the woman. "Who knows?" said Moshe. He took out his lunch, so I took out mine. Non-verbal communication and dialogue can be tricky, sure. But to be encouraged nonetheless. But the final point I want to make is very briefly is that I think we're also very clearly focusing, as Gulen does, on accountability and responsibility. These are core to the whole creative response to the other, the creative actions and so forth. Real accountability, and ultimately, of course, we are accountable at the end of time. Well, this is crucial. Which again reminds me of a story. A story about Ian Paisley. Some of you may have heard this before. Ian Paisley, the great Northern Ireland Protestant preacher. I once actually went to his church. It was the day after New College Edinburgh had lost to Queen's Belfast 7-1 at football. And so we felt we needed penance. So we went to Ian's church. The story goes, Paisley, a great rousing preacher, says to his congregation, "And at the end of time, there will be weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth." He speaks like that, gnashing of teeth. And a little lady in the congregation said, Mr. Paisley, please, I have no teeth." He says, "Madam, teeth will be provided." What the Gulen community, in partnership with many groups, is providing us with is the teeth of dialogue. And I look forward to a rich and real dialogue over these next few years. Thank you.